Hello, and welcome to another episode of Truth Bombs and Heart Nudges. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Dawn Davis. Welcome, Dawn. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Lori. Thanks for inviting me.
So let's start with telling our audience a little about you.
Oh, there's so much to tell about me. Right now, in this moment, I am a 51-year-old woman who is going through some huge life transitions, paying attention to the heart nudges that I'm getting, changing careers, reaching out to be useful to other women and helping to empower them to take up space and ask for what they want. And it feels like everything I've ever done in my life has brought me to this place, to this moment right now.
Yes. And that's one of the things I love to tell people is your journey is beautiful. No matter what you're going through, no matter if you feel like it's dark or heavy or it's not what you want, it's still your journey. And every step of your journey is extremely beautiful and it has purpose and it has meaning. So I'm glad that you brought that up. So let's kind of dive in. So what kind of heart nudges got you to shift into what you want to do now?
Uh, we've all been through a global pandemic, and it seems like that has had a profound impact on a lot of people. And for me, I have a 16-year classroom teaching career, and it's on paper, it's a great job that we have, you know, work in a classroom with students and evenings and weekends off and holidays and summers and, healthcare and regular pay increases or, however that looks, whatever the story is that we're told that, teaching is uh, an upstanding, wonderful job. And I love teaching. I love being useful. My relationships with students seem to be the most important part of my job. Like, yes, um, I help students become better writers and hopefully, participate in the world in an impactful way. But really, my relationships with each individual person is what's most important to me, and making sure that everyone feels valuable and honored. But what happens in teaching is, I think you probably know, Lori, is that it's much harder than that.
Mhm.
It's, as a teacher, as a classroom teacher, I wear, 17 different hats, and I have to um, make sure that every student is being reached, the really high students and the really low students, and, um, offer lessons and individualize education and make sure that kids are um, eating and that they have their social emotional needs met, and that school is a safe place for them, and that they're not sitting next to someone that makes them feel uncomfortable, and collecting data and giving them feedback and correcting papers, and just it's so much. And the emotional labor that is involved with teaching is a 24/7 job. At least it is for me.
Mhm.
And exhausting, exhausting, and not I feel like I'm teaching less and less and doing a lot of bureaucratic things more and more. And then the pandemic sent me home to work from my dining room table. And I didn't want that. I didn't ask for it. It was very complicated and nearly impossible. And I know lots of teachers really struggled, and students
Mhm.
really struggled with that experience, but some really good things came out of it for me too. And those good things are that my daughter and I spent a lot of time together because she was doing school in the same house that I was doing my teaching. So we spent time together. We had our meals together. We helped each other with things. Um, I got out of the classroom and started looking at things differently, asking myself new questions about what what it is that I really want. I mean, there's data that shows that 52% of the population did not return to the jobs that they had before the pandemic. 52%, that's a really huge amount of people. And so I've joined in those ranks. I went into online learning so that I do instruction, but it's different. Um, and my focus now is primarily with coaching. I'm a life coach and a confidence specialist for women. And that's something that I have been doing for decades in various permutations, but I actually went ahead and got certified and started my own business, got licensed, and I have clients. And it's different than anything I've ever done. And yet it's like a little bit of all of the pieces of everything that is meaningful and valuable to me. And I love it and it's scary. And that's where I am right now. That's what I'm doing in my life, this moment.
Yeah, I think that when COVID hit and everyone was sent home was either, it was like a very defining moment for people. So either A, they like dove into it and was like, okay, I'm home. What do I do with all of this space?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, because I was the same. I was teaching then too. And so going home and then all of a sudden you're trying to do everything online was very tricky and different. And you had to restructure everything. And although teaching is very rewarding, for me, it was like it wasn't big enough. Yes, I was
Yeah.
guiding all of these students. I've been empowering people my whole life. I've always been the person everyone came to, but I never saw it because I didn't feel good enough about myself then to say, hey, I can help other people.
Mm.
So I think the fact that you took that time, and not just for you, but also I'm sure there was like a huge shift in the relationship with your daughter, being
Yes.
home with her, and instead of just being like ships in the night because you get home at night and you're rushing around to do everything, you're both home, and
Yeah.
there's no having to go out through to get to work and then home from work and here and there. We're just there. So
Yeah.
and heart nudges, like heart nudge wise, was there any heart nudges or truth bombs in the moment when you two were together?
Oh, that's a great question. I think my daughter is an amazing human. Like, of course I love her because she's my daughter, but I really like her. And we spent time, she's about to turn 18. And so, it's been a couple of years of late teenage years that we've been spending a lot of time together. And we have these just deep, lovely, thoughtful conversations. I have also, as part of my story, is that I'm a clean and sober person. I have been for 29 years. So my daughter has never seen me drink or use. And we have these really deep, intentional conversations. And before, you mentioned ships in the night, right? Before, she's busy at school, I'm busy at work. We both have after school, extracurricular things. I drive her places. We're on the go. But with the great pause, we sat together, we talked, we eat our meals together. We, um, my one of my favorite things to do on a daily basis when we have dinner is, what were your highs and lows for today? And that opens up conversation. Um, I feel like we have the opportunity to share things with one another that, maybe we wouldn't have if we weren't sitting and listening and holding space for one another.
Yeah.
I really think that it helps our relationship. And it helps how she presents in the world. She's self-assured and she's confident and she knows what she wants and she talks about her feelings on a really emotionally intelligent level. And I think that comes from us having these lovely conversations and we can talk about anything, and there's no subject that's taboo. Like I don't shame her for anything. We just explore one another's brains.
I love that. Yeah. My daughter and I were the same. We were like shifts a night. She was going to college and I was teaching, and I was also getting my master's at the same time. And
Yeah.
it was like, it was so much. And when, yeah, I love the great pause. Yeah. We actually paused and we're considering, what do we want our mother-daughter relationship to look like? Because now she's in her 20s. She's not a little girl anymore. I'm like, now I feel like she's like my best friend. We've had these interesting conversations, and she was bullied in school. So that great pause gave her time to come to me and say, Mom, these are the things that happened. I mean, I knew things were happening, but I didn't know. And she
Right.
started really opening up. And so I want the listeners to think of that, think about that when you're always so busy all of the time. And it's one of those things too about the whole self-care thing. Um, if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not filling your bucket up, what I call a love bucket. And so for years, like I've had to look back at my life and say, and admit to my daughter, like I was a crappy mom. I said this to somebody once, and they were trying to say, "Don't feel bad." No, I'm not. I'm not saying it because I feel bad. I have forgiven myself. But the point is, back then I didn't realize how important self care was, and so because I did not care for myself, I
Yeah.
came to her empty. So she always got the least of me. And this great pause brought forth this whole new reality that I have this love bucket that's been empty for so long. Whose job is it to fill it? Guess what? It's mine. And once I
Yes.
took ownership, and I also have coaching credentials too now, but I learned so much through that. I dove in, like instead of sitting here running, because I know I spend a lot of my time, because in that busyness, it's so easy to run from ourselves and all the things
Absolutely.
that we don't want to deal with.
Yes.
But that great pause was for me a great pause. I really took that time. I'm like, I want something different. My soul was crying out for something more. And I always tell people that when you feel this discontentment, even if you do have a great job, I had a rewarding job as a teacher.
Yep.
I loved the
Yes.
kids. I
Yeah.
still love kids, but there was a piece of me that was like, you're meant for something even bigger.
Exactly that. And like I felt like I was too big for the box. Right.
Yes.
There's this, teachers, you have to be a certain person. And I was too big for that box. And I felt it. I felt a little constrained and restricted. And it wasn't until I got to again come home and be introspective and spend time with myself that I slowed down and I recognized that I needed something else. And it's scary, right? It's scary. N- Having, I felt like I had acquired that which I had always wanted, stability and safety and predictability and, this job and listening to my insides be dissatisfied with that. Like for a while, I just pushed that down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to listen to that. There's something wrong with me. When in fact, when I listen, my body tells me, my body talks to me, my body, I feel anxious or heart racing or calm or, I can
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to my body and know with practice
Yep.
and know what the right thing is to do. But I have to slow down. I have to look inward. And actually I started with the pandemic, I started a daily meditation practice and I do intentional journaling that I share with all my clients. It's very, precise. Like this is what we're going to do. And we're going to look at these specific things. And now my daughter does it too
Mm-hmm.
on her own. It wasn't me saying, hey, you should do this thing, but she watches me. She sees me doing it. She knows that I do this work with my clients. I offer, these free workshops where we all get together and we do this intentional journaling together. And it's profound. And that helps me look inward and figure out what it is that I am called to do, what it is that I'm moved to do, instead of just doing the thing that's expected, the thing that other people want me to do, or even that I think I should do. That should keeps me small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that you share that. Yeah. And it's that box. get out of the dang box. If you feel like you're,
Yes.
like you're constrained or that discontentment, that I'm telling people all the time, that's your first signal. If you're discontent, like, you can go to a job and you look around yourself and all these people are content in this job and they're planning on, and, retiring there in 30 years and they love it. But you're like, oh, I just can't see myself being here another year even. That's your soul is telling you something. You're meant for something more. So yes, listen.
My friends, my closest friends and the people who love me are also in education because that's what I've been doing for a long time and that's who I've
Mhm.
brought to me. And many of them said, just 5 more years, right? You can retire in 5 more years. It's just 5 years. And I'm thinking,
Mhm.
what if I'm dead in 5 years? If this is my one audacious life, if this is the only one that I get, what do I want to be doing with it?
Mhm.
Do I want to endure? Do I want to stick it out and feel small? Because that's how I was starting to feel. Do I want to shrink? I mean, we humans spend a lot of time trying not to be uncomfortable, right?
Mhm.
It's a very old lizard brain thing, like to be safe, to be comfortable, to have life be predictable, to not be chased by saber-toothed tigers,
Right.
and and what happens if we lean into discomfort? What happens if we walk toward our fear? Well, as it turns out, I haven't disintegrated. I haven't imploded. I haven't, nothing terrible has happened. That's not to say that in my bold moves to start a new career, I haven't been terrified because I have. And
Mhm.
I've been uncomfortable and I've even been like right over here on the floor, curled up, sobbing. That happens too. My nervous system is completely dysregulated. And then I have to use tools to, you know, bring myself
Mhm.
back. Um, and I've had to pivot and change. I had these like I swing. I'm the kind of person who swings from one end to the other, the pendulum, where I'm going to make all these changes. And and then I had to pull myself back and find a center place. And that takes work. It takes practice. Again, always like looking inward, talking to people who I trust. And I've surrounded myself with those people that I trust, that I honor, their opinions, and still making decisions based on what what I need and what I want and what's best for me, and putting myself first, which is not a selfish act, by the way. I don't think putting myself first is selfish. I think it's good modeling for others, good modeling for my daughter. I'm taking care of me, making decisions for me, having good boundaries for me. And that makes me a better person. And I think it affects the people around me in a positive way. And I've, really, really dived into all of this in the last couple of years. I've known it to be true intellectually, but I don't think I could have acted on all of it without being forced with a pandemic.
Mhm.
I don't think that I could have made the decision to follow what feels right to me without being forced. I would have just kept going, kept going on the path that I was on.
Yeah. And I like that you said honor those that you honor. Um, Honor is so big. We don't think about it. It wasn't until I really started looking at honoring myself that I realized until I learned to honor myself, I could not honor others in the way they
Yeah.
deserve to because
Yeah,
we can't give what we don't have. And so it's so
exactly.
easy to get stuck in the pattern of I'm teaching. So this is what I'm doing. This is who I am. I'm a teacher, but that is
Yeah.
just a piece. So those of you listening, if you feel like, you put yourself in this box because people say this is, and don't let it fool you either. I have these degrees. I spent all this money on these degrees that I'm not using them, but yet I am.
You are,
But
absolutely.
yet you are, yes.
I want to touch on that because,
Yes.
this idea that, you go to school, for instance, and people say, well, what are you going to do with that degree? Well, I'm going to learn. I'm going to be a critical thinker. I'm expanding my humanity. Everything that I learn, every book that I read, every class that I take, every workshop that I put on, everything that I do builds this. It changes me on the inside. And so what are you going to do with it? I'm going to live. I'm going to be a good human. I'm going to expand my horizons. And I don't know where it's going to take me. That's so end focused. I'm designing my life as I go. And that's scary.
And beautiful.
And beautiful. And beautiful. And I'm the bravest person I know. Really. Like the people who know me and look at me, they're like, wow. But it's not really that I'm exceptional. It's that I'm willing to be uncomfortable. I'm willing to not know things. I'm willing to walk toward my fear and take chances. And that creates the biggest adventures. And so it looks like, oh, Dawn, she does this stuff. You can do it. And she can do it, and he can do it. Like, we just have to be willing to go inward, which is, I think, one of the scariest adventures of all. Go inward and then take the next indicated step, whatever that happens to be. Take the next indicated step.
I feel like as scary it is going inward, once you've done that, once you've pulled out all the junk and basically got through all the cobwebs down in there, you can do anything because with what's inside of you is what creates what's outside of you. People don't realize that.
Ooh,
and so
I
when
love
you
that.
start, it's like that closet that you keep shoving, or the junk drawer. You gotta clean that out to be able to fit new stuff in. And so if you can do that, you think about cleaning, like I don't like to clean, but when I actually really get into it and it's done and you're looking at this beautiful creation you just now did, that's the inside of you. And I love that you brought that up, because I feel like if you can go inward, if you can go into the past, into all those things that you shoved down, all that stuff that feels yucky, and you can walk through that, you can walk through anything at all.
And it's scary. And it's scary.
It is.
I think that help is necessary. Like, I don't think that I can solve the problems of my life with the same brain that has created them. I need outside help, whether that is, I don't know, like in a 12-step program, there's a sponsor, or therapy, or a life coach, or friends and family are nice, but they have their own biases and motivations. But if you get outside of that, you might have someone who is more objective. I need a new perspective. I need someone who can hear my words and mirror them back to me. Oh, right. And that helps me, clean out that junk drawer, as you say. Like, on my own, I can only do so much. I think that I need some kind of outside help for that. And I would also say that I like your junk drawer analogy. However, I think that that's, inanimate, and then it stays clean forever. I think this introspection and looking inward is more like gardening. Because then, you go out and you do your landscaping and pruning and weeding, and look at how beautiful it is, but the weeds keep coming. so I have to keep, going out there and attending to it. I don't just look inward once or,
Mhm.
over a single period. It's ongoing. It's lifetime work.
Yeah, so is
I'm
the
gonna,
closet though.
what's that? So is the
I'm
closet.
like, I'm thinking, I'm like, what magical closet do you have that stays clean once you clean it? Because mine gets more stuff in it. So it's a junk drawer. Like, and
Yeah.
I swing back and forth. Like I use a garden too as an analogy because like I said, we're beautiful. And the weeds, but it was, and I guess the reason I use the closet idea is because I had so much, from abuse and trauma growing up. I shoved so much stuff in. It was like, I had to open the door like the subconscious door to that closet every night. I would go in there and go, okay, what am I looking at today? I had to sort through all that pain and all of those memories to find soul healing. And just like I wish my closets were magically clean once I cleaned them, because I'm looking over going, I just cleaned this a couple months ago and it's already a mess again. But yeah, that it is your life journey is a constant learning. It's a constant, because there's stuff still in there. I believe
Yes.
that every moment of your life ever is down in your subconscious. And so if you're not working on it all of the time, and I do agree that you do need help, because there's moments where I will get stuck and I will literally get this migraine right between my eyes. And I always know it's a message I need, but somehow I can't quite get it out. And so, yeah, I needed those people. And I'm so lucky that I have a bunch of different coaches in my world where I can be
Yeah.
like, somebody, this hurts. Who else has a headache right now? And they'll be like, me. I'm like, okay, we're connected. Help me. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is a continuous, beautiful journey. So don't be afraid of getting out there and getting your hands dirty, because life is messy. And I love that you use adventure, because I look at it that way too, or an experiment. Life's just this big experiment. Well, let's try this thing and see what happens. And
Right.
I'm looking for this outcome. But if I don't get that outcome, then I'm like, okay, well, that experiment took an interesting turn.
Right. What am I going to learn from it? I'm going to
Exactly.
add to my toolbox based on my experiences.
Yes.
So I keep having experiences, which also change my perception of, my past. Like you were talking about um, trauma,
Mm-hmm.
and I also come from a devastating and traumatic childhood of, violence and sexual abuse and um, alcoholism and drug addiction, and, pain and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those things inform who I am, inform my relationships with other humans. It affects who I draw to me and who I push away. And I can do work around that. And then, some time passes and I'm different.
Mm-hmm.
So then the work that I do shifts. I can do more work. It's like, I'm sure that you've heard about the layers of the onion, and that,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that's the life, and that we peel away some layers and there's more layers and more layers, and just reinforcing the idea that it's ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm always going to have work to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give myself that gift of meditation and journaling every day, all the time, even if it's feels like the same messages over and over, because they shift just a little bit over time. And I change.
Yes. And that is, and I like that you said, give yourself permission that you're worthy to, and this was like in the last year or so, like I had this huge epiphany, this truth bomb moment, where I realized every time I said, I don't have any money, or I don't deserve that, or do I really need this? That was me being controlled by money. I just had
Mhm.
this epiphany one day. I'm like, I am no longer going to allow money to be my master. It's not going to dictate how I do anything. If I feel like I want to, spend this money on a coach so that I can get deeper healing, then I'm going to do it, because I'm worth it, because I decide where the money goes, not
Right.
money decides where I go. Ooh, that was a good one.
I think, well, it is. And I think that many of us are challenged to make investments in ourselves, all kinds of investments,
Mhm.
investments of time, investments of, whatever it is that we think is good for us or valuable, and we can talk ourselves out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, also there are real life circumstances that make it so that maybe we can't do that. Like I feel like I have a lot of privilege that allows me to make some choices that other people maybe wouldn't be able to make. But I have to pay attention to the negative voice that says, "Oh, I can't. I'm not worthy."
Mhm.
I just invested in a business coach for the next 6 months to help me with my coaching business because it's ongoing, work that I need to do. And it was scary. It was a scary investment because I told myself that I didn't have that money, that I couldn't invest that money in myself. But because of the work that I do to support me, the work that I do to love me, the work that I do to invest in me, I made that decision. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then right after I decided to, I felt lighter. I felt joyful. I felt excited. That doesn't always happen. I mean, a couple of years ago when I invested in uh, another, a big investment for myself, after I did it, I felt anxious and worried, and, it wasn't the same feeling. Um, but all of that is data for myself. All of that
Mhm.
is information that helps me grow.
Yeah. Feelings, your emotions are just trying to tell you something. That's how I look at that when I've worked with clients too. I'm like, what is that emotion trying to tell you? You don't have to be owned by that emotion. It's okay to feel that emotion, but then look at it. And again, I like the whole investigative type of idea. Like, okay, let's take a step back. What is this trying to tell me? Because it's always trying to tell you something. So, for instance, um, that last year of teaching, almost every single morning, alarm would go off, and I would feel like crying. I had to finally
Mm.
ask myself why. I've been doing it for like 10 years, over a decade. Like, why now this year is it every morning I just want to cry? Because literally my whole body was to the point like, this isn't what you're meant to be doing anymore.
Yes.
Time to move on. And if I wanted to stopped and said, what the heck is going on? Why do I feel this way? I'd probably still be teaching and I'd be miserable, even though it was rewarding work and I loved it. And again,
Yes.
I outgrew my box and it
Yeah.
was, yeah. So listen to what your emotions, what your body is telling you. There's a connection between your mind and your body and your soul and your spirit. And if you're out of alignment, you're going to feel it. It could be an ache, it could be a pain, it could just be, breaking into tears all of a sudden out of nowhere. And you're like, what is happening to me? And normally, like years ago, that would have been just my life, just a sad, weeping mess because I didn't realize there was something more trying to come out of me.
Yeah. Yes. And so here's a another example that, generally these days, my body feels calm. I feel centered and balanced generally. And recently I made a big change and tried something new. And as I mentioned before, sometimes I get a little carried away and I do something, all the way swing to the other end of the pendulum. And I started waking up in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, like heart racing. My pupils were vibrating, just adrenaline pumping through me. And I didn't like that feeling at all, very uncomfortable. And I had to uh, make some decisions that were scary and hurtful. Actually, I started a relationship, and that relationship became paramount to everything else in my life because I don't know how to do things in that respect in a slow, gradual way. And so I had to end it. I had to end that relationship, and it wasn't the other person's fault at all, and it even hurt them. But I had to listen to my body. I had to pay attention to the cues. It wasn't even that I wanted to, I would just as soon have ignored my
Mm-hmm.
body so that I could continue doing what I thought I wanted. But now it's so loud It's so loud that I can't ignore it.
Mhm.
And there was a time, and I bet you can relate to this, Lori, when I was younger, when there was trauma in my life, I was taught not to pay attention to the
Mhm.
voice inside. I was taught
Mhm.
that it was wrong, that what I thought was, you know, because the adults weren't safe
Mhm.
in my life, I had to question what was going on inside of me and not believe myself. And
Yep.
so it's taken a long time to return to my body knows. My body knows. And I don't have to be able to verbalize it. I don't have to be able to justify it or explain it to anyone. I just have to honor that my body knows. And even though I would like to have been in that relationship, I liked where it was going. I wanted it. When I ended it, that anxiety and adrenaline and panic went away. Damn it.
Yep.
Damn it. But it was just evidence to me that I can't ignore the things that are going on inside. And
Mhm.
you know, the greatest gift that I can give to myself is to be my biggest advocate, my biggest cheerleader, my parent, right? Reparenting myself. Oh, that makes you uncomfortable? We don't have to do that. Oh,
We
how
don't?
lovely. Right.
What?
Right. And again, I want to go back to, like, not everyone is in that position. I have a lot of choice in my life, a lot of privilege in my life. I can evaluate whether or not I want to continue in the job that I'm in and, make changes. Not everybody has that as an option, but I do. I do. And so I want to listen, and I want to model that for my daughter and the other people around. Listen to what some people would say, listen to your gut.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make mistakes too. Sometimes my intellectual mind is going to get it wrong, but I just keep I just keep looking inward. I keep checking in with other people that I trust, and I keep moving forward, knowing that I'm the one that I'm taking care of.
Mhm.
I'm the one that I'm listening to. I'm the one that I'm rescuing.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Be you. Be yourself. We've been talking so long, I don't realize it's almost been an hour. But
Whew.
I know it's been so good. Like I was telling her before we got here, I'm like, how long? Well, I don't know. We go. But
Until it runs its course.
yeah. So is there any tip or maybe some inspiring last thought that you would like to leave the listeners with?
I just, that quiet time that I take every day for myself, with myself, has been invaluable. Making sure that I'm not going full steam ahead all day long, giving myself time to listen to that inner knowing. That's the tip that I have. It's uncomfortable, it's scary. It has taken me decades to commit to this daily practice. But if I can just be quiet, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever I can do, that consistent, quiet looking inward has changed everything for me.
Mhm. I love that. And I will also say that done the same, and now I miss it. If I get so busy that I don't do it, I miss it. Like my soul is crying out, like, you need to go to quiet place, quiet place. Like
Yeah.
you will miss it. So even though it's scary at first, later it becomes a part of you. Like it's meant to be.
Like brushing my teeth.
Exactly.
It's part of my daily routine.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for coming on here. It's been amazing. I bet we could have probably talked another hour.
Yeah, it felt so easy. Thank you,
Yeah,
Lori.
I'm gonna have to have you come back because I feel like you have so much more to share because we kind of only I feel like we only glimpsed like a tiny bit of it, but
I love
thank
to
you.
tell stories.
I do too. I feel like we were just bouncing. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you took away she had a lot of little nuggets in there that I hope you got at least one of them. So yeah, thanks you again so much. It's been an honor having you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'll talk to you again.
Okay, thank you so much.